In his dressing room, Regan Thompson is seated cross-legged and floating a few feet above the floor when viewed from behind. He is only dressed in tighty-whities. He is taunted by the voice of Birdman, who appears to be speaking via a Birdman movie poster. He is a has-been who should never have stopped creating Birdman movies, the voice informs him. He despises being in this little, filthy, and offensively smelling changing room. After leaving a superhero franchise to portray Birdman, Regan is an exactor trying his hand at live theater. Sam, his assistant/daughter, calls Regan on video. She is in a flower shop, but they don't carry the varieties of flowers her father prefers. "Get something that smells pleasant," he advises her. The call ends as she reaches for some roses, and he tells her not to get any, though it's unclear if she hears him. Regan is instructed to join the rehearsal on stage over the loudspeaker. Regan speaks with Jake, his manager, best friend, attorney, and play producer as he makes his way to the stage. Jake expresses concern about Regan's participation in, writing, and direction of, a play based on Raymond Carver's What We Talk About When We Talk About Love, a real short story. The other actor, Ralph, isn't very good. Regan appears in a kitchen scene alongside 3 other performers. They are Laura, Leslie, and Ralph. Ralph is knocked unconscious and the play ends when Regan looks up at the lighting grid and one of the lights falls directly on his head. Jake is concerned since time and money are both very limited and they need to find a replacement. Mike Shiner, a well-known actor who is infamous for being tough, he is available because he recently left/was fired from another project, is suggested by Leslie. When Jake and Regan inquire as to how she knows Mike, she replies, "We share a vagina," assuring them that he is interested. Jake advises Regan to get ready for a day of interviews as he returns to his dressing room. The interviewers are less interested in discussing the play and more interested in rumors and Regan's lapsed career. Later that night, Regan goes back to the stage to meet with Mike. Mike is a very serious method performer. He astounds Regan by having memorized his lines, he learned them by assisting Leslie. Regan and Mike break down several dialogue passages together. Mike also offers some helpful suggestions, which Regan accepts and agrees to use in the play. When Sam takes Regan to costuming, he strips in front of her. Sam may return, and Leslie, who enters the room without realizing Sam is hiding behind a rack of clothing, advises Mike to put on clothes so he won't be caught naked in front of Regan's drug-addicted, degenerate loser daughter. Sam comes out and departs. Leslie scolds Mike out of embarrassment. Regan pretends to be pleased when Laura tells him she has missed 2 cycles and thinks she is pregnant. Then he queries her as to whether she is certain that it is indeed his. She gets up and walks out. Jake informs Regan that Mike is much out of their price range, but Regan replies that he'll cover the cost personally. By threatening to inform the media about the strange porn that Ralph enjoys, Jake is assisting the producers in avoiding a lawsuit from Ralph. A preview performance of the play begins. On stage, Mike consumes actual gin. When Regan prepares to enter, the stage manager announces the change, and Regan casually replaces the actual gin with the prop gin. Mike interrupts the play in front of the audience to rage at Regan for not giving his all to the production and the characters during Regan's monologue when he realizes his gin was switched out. When Regan signals for the curtain to fall, a fight breaks out between him and Mike. Regan tells Mike that he doesn't need him fucking it up because his heart went into this project. Mike informs Regan that he has no business being on Broadway in the first place because he is only a movie star. Jake points out that since Mike joined the band, pre-sale ticket sales have skyrocketed as Regan storms off stage and demands Jake fire Mike. Mike is unable to go. Sylvia, Regan's ex-wife, was present. To check on Regan, she visits his dressing room. In order to help pay for the play, he explains to her that he wants to mortgage their Malibu property. She is unhappy because Sam was intended to one day call that place home. Yet she reluctantly consents. Mike is told by Regan that they should speak outside. According to Regan, a lot depends on the success of this play, and he thinks Mike dislikes him because of his success. Mike informs him that Prestige's promiscuous little cousin is popularity. When they arrive at a bar, Regan informs Mike that he made the decision to pursue acting because when he was much younger, he performed in a play, and Raymond Carver later sent him a favorable note on a napkin, which he then displays to Mike. Given that it's written on a bar napkin and Mike assumes that Carver was intoxicated at the time, nothing can be inferred from it, he says. However, Mike claims that previews are simply paid for rehearsals when actors get a chance to familiarize themselves with the material, so it is irrelevant whether or not they went well. Opening night is the only performance that counts, and the patrons at the far end of the bar have the only valid opinions. He is alluding to Tabitha, the New York Times theater reviewer. She will make or ruin a play with her review. Nobody on Broadway is interested in a retired movie star like Regan Thompson. As if on cue, a family that is a major fan requests that Mike take their picture with Regan. Mike is not recognized by them. Mike stops to make fun of Tabitha as he leaves. If he's concerned that she'll give him a poor rating, she queries. He claims that if he ever delivers her a subpar performance, he knows she will. Mike also shares with Tabitha his belief that Regan is a real person. Things move along better in the second preview up until the finale, when Regan's character discovers Mike's character sharing a hotel bed with Leslie's character. Sadly, just before they perform the scene, Mike admits to Leslie that he is having an erection and that they engage in actual sex in front of everyone on stage. The scene opens with him trying to have sex with her against her will. Their adversary suddenly appears on stage and brandishes a gun at them. Mike springs from his bed, showing everyone a big erection. While the audience is amused by Mike's penis, Regan carries on with the drama and delivers his concluding monologue. He confesses to them that he occasionally shoots himself in the head after realizing he is nothing. The play is over, and everyone applauds. The cast takes the stage, and it's a hit. Leslie is furious and is overheard complaining that Mike hasn't been able to get it up in months as she makes her way to the dressing room. Going to her changing room, Regan compliments her on her bravery and beauty. Laura, who was present, later expressed her disappointment to Leslie that Regan had never expressed himself to her in such a complimentary manner during their relationship. Leslie and Laura end up sharing a kiss. Mike continues to infuriate Regan. The pretend gun has a red tip, and Mike says Regan needs to obtain a better gun if he wants to frighten him. Sam and Mike cross paths when Mike walks to the roof to smoke. It's a game of truth or dare. She advances on him, but he explains that his onstage erection was his first in a long time. Even if he wanted to, he doesn't believe he could engage in sexual activity. She queries his preferred method of treating her. He claims he'd like to remove her eyes so he can view the city through her impressionable, youthful eyes. The play is covered in the newspaper the next day. In an interview that appears on the top page, Mike claims responsibility for the tale that Raymond Carver saw him perform and returned the letter. A little story farther down in the newspaper mentions Regan. Using telekinesis, Regan destroys the Birdman poster in his dressing room. Regan enters Mike's changing room furious and discovers Mike tanning. He drags Mike into the cafeteria, where they start to argue. They perform the play. Sam and Mike are seen kissing by Regan. Before his final scene, he makes the decision to go outside and smoke. He ends up locking himself out of the cinema, and his bathrobe gets caught in the door. He must therefore navigate Times Square's crowds while only wearing his underwear as he makes his way around the block to the theater's entrance. He enters the theater again, enters the stage from behind the audience, goes through the spectators while pointing his finger like a gun, and leaves the theater. They finish filming after a crew member hands him a pretend gun. After the performance, Regan visits the pub once more and bumps into Tabitha. He walks over to her with a drink in hand and begins to tell her the tale of the Raymond Carver napkin. She claims not to be concerned. She will bury his play tomorrow because she doesn't respect actors who seek to play movie stars. When he claims to be an actress, she corrects him by informing him that he is simply a famous person. He drinks the martini he ordered for her and then goes, leaving behind the cocktail napkin bearing Carver's letter. As a result of excessive drinking, Regan collapses on a trash bag while lying on a stoop. He gets up the following morning and confidently begins to cross the street. Now that Birdman's voice is embodied, Regan and Birdman can be seen together on the street. He learns he is not required to watch this play from this. He ought to make another Birdman film by returning to Hollywood. He'd be rich, and everyone would adore it. With explosions, helicopters, and enormous robots, Regan envisions the city street becoming the setting of a major action film. He steps back into the present and climbs onto a building's roof. He is asked to leave the ledge by a man who emerges. Regan complies. The man inquires as to his well-being and whereabouts. After claiming to be fine and knowing exactly where to go, Regan turns, runs, and jumps from the building. He returns to the St. James Theater and enters after flying through the city like a superhero. He passes a cab on the way in, and the driver is furious with Regan for not paying him. The driver enters the building after Regan and emerges a minute later. Sam is approached by Regan when he passes by, who compliments her on her work and inquires about her outlook on life. They had an intimate discussion. She marks the toilet paper with dashes and adds that she learned how to do that in recovery. A dash indicates 1,000 years. The time that people have lived on Earth is one sheet. The remaining space on the roll denotes the planet's duration. This puts everything into perspective. She hears him say that this play is his final chance to accomplish something significant. He doesn't understand, she tells him. This is not crucial. He doesn't matter. Nothing about this matters. On a piece of toilet paper, they appear as a dash. Laura assures Regan that she is not pregnant and that he need not be concerned. In the rafters above the stage, Sam and Mike have sex. It's the premiere. Flowers are everywhere in Regan's dressing room, but he doesn't like roses, thus they are practically all roses. Sylvia visits and wishes him well. Regan tells her that the night she discovered his infidelity, he tried to drown himself in the ocean but kept getting zapped by jellyfish, forcing him to drag himself back to the shore. She recalls that he first informed her he had gotten sunburned. He claims that he must perform this play tonight since it will be his final opportunity to get something right. Regan gets a real gun out and heads to the stage after she leaves. After giving his lengthy speech about how he has come to the realization that he is nothing, he really shoots himself in the head. With the exception of Tabitha, the audience applauds while still in astonishment. Maybe in order to make her deadline, Tabitha sneaks out. Once more, rockets soar through the skies. On a beach are lying jellyfish. Jake informs Regan and Sylvia that the performance was a big success in Regan's hospital room. He asks Sylvia to read from Tabitha's review, which claims that Regan has introduced a brand new theatrical movement known as ultra-realism. The review by Tabitha, titled The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, implies that Regan was unaware the gun was real. Regan, according to Jake, got a new nose after being shot in the face. Regan loves flowers, but he is unable to smell them, so Sam brings him lilacs. Regan is captured in a photo by Sam, who claims she will post it on his newly made Twitter account. She departs in search of a vase. Similar to what the Birdman mask covered, Regan's face is now bandaged. After removing his bandages, he enters the restroom and faces the mirror to examine himself. He has two large shiners, and his nose is swollen and bruised. When he enters his room again, he observes birds flying past the window. He opens it while perched on the ledge. Regan is gone when Sam gets back. Sam seems to be unaware of him as he peers out the open window onto the ground. She smiles while looking up towards the sky. Well, that's all for today's video. We hope you enjoyed it, and please support us by subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to get notification for new videos every we post.